Hey, everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
Hey, I'm Tyler.
And I'm KC.
And you're listening to
The Element Podcast.
Well, hey there, girl. I bet you've heard that before. The way you sit right there, acting like it's so boring.
Get back. Don't you do it. That's a Fuji dog right there. We are sitting outside, actually. And we're about to do a round table with one of our friends, our newfound friends, Mr. Daniel Holder from the HuntFishEat podcast. And so we're just going to start into the conversation pretty quick here. But just wanted to run you guys through the fact that we just released a crappie fishing video. And this isn't just a hype session. This isn't just a, ripping lips, highlight. This is how to fish for crappie in the pre-spawn, especially if you got a 2021 Skeeter and you got a live scope. And
when you say isn't just, that implies that there is quite a bit of that in the video.
Yeah, there's some ripping, man. I don't know how many we took home, but I bet we had, if you count the bites that Hunter missed, we probably had a few thousand bites. No, we probably had about 20, 25 bites. I think we ended up like 15 before you guys went back out. But we did a couple hours on the lake and saw how effective live scoping can be, especially when you're talking about pre-spawn fish in the 8 to 10, 11 foot depth. And it was a lot of fun, and they caught big ones, man.
Yeah. It was pretty cool to just be out there. It's my first time getting to, experience live scope or whatever. It's not as guaranteed as like what you think it'd be, but it's real cool.
Yeah.
It's not video game-esque, I don't feel like, as much as what I thought it was going to be either. So it was a lot of fun. The amount of time I spent on the lake left me sick, literally. So that's why y'all hear my voice being real weird. But we had a lot of fun, and then it was great to just get to hang out with Daniel, do some fishing with him, and he made us a delicious elk steak meal that night.
Oregano.
Yeah.
It's the key ingredient, man.
Yeah. That's not as I like that food, but I don't think I'm going to put oregano on all my steaks from now on.
Really?
Yeah.
No. I liked it. I'm not going to put it on every steak either, but I think I'm going to try it every
I'm
once
still
in a
a
while.
salt, pepper, butter, maybe some garlic type guy. It's just kind of the way I roll. But it was delicious either way. And my wife liked it, which made a big difference. Because I live for her, of course. So, whatever makes her happy.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you wanted her to hear that or something.
Right. It's almost like she's over there 15 yards away.
Do you think she's going to listen to this podcast?
No, but I think she listened. She already actually heard the live version. Her and Hunter's wife were in there talking smack about us the whole time while we were saying dumb things on the podcast.
Yeah. I actually went, because I could see them, they were rolling when I was talking. They loved my comedy mainly.
That's right.
So,
yeah. Tyler's comments in particular, they were laughing at.
They thought hilarious. Man.
So, if y'all want to laugh too and just enjoy a good conversation, let's get into that with Daniel and Hunter.
Dunter. I'm Tyler Jones from the Element Podcast.
I am K.C.
Sisk.
No, I wish. If so, I'd be shooting giant bucks in
did you
South
marry?
Texas. What?
You changed your name when you got married?
Oh,
did you
yeah. Anyways, I'm K.C. Smith from the Element Wild, which is our social media channels.
Okay.
I'm Daniel Holder with HuntFishEat podcast.
And yours truly, Hunter the Hunter.
With we.
No, he knows.
we.
Everybody knows, man. He's
HTH.
he's on a first name basis. I saw a commercial today with Serena Williams. She said, you've made it when people know you by your first name or by one name or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Tyler the Tribe.
HTH.
That's right.
HTH.
HTH.
We're sitting around dinner table right now. Hunter is trying not to breathe, and
Eat sausages.
we got these sausages right in front of us. If you watch some of the pig hunt videos, you know that the Cody Brown is a man for men. He's the man's
He
man.
is. Yep.
And he did some pineapple
bacon and jalapeno and cheese. And there's a great discrepancy in the heat in some of these jalapeno
For
and cheese
sure, man.
sausages.
For sure.
Yeah, Mr. Kansas City, you don't have a lot of spice to your barbecue up there. So.
No, we a lot of sweet, man. That's
Yeah,
what we got. So.
yeah. So I'm sure that was a kick. I thought it was pretty good. Like it was
It was
definitely
good. It
spicy
was
for
hot.
me too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just hot.
for a Texan, I'm not like I'm a medium, like middle of the road spicy guy. I'm not the guy who's like, give me that habanero, you know. But I like a good burn with a good flavor.
That's me too, man. I think when you get food that's like that too, you know it's good food because if it's consistent, then it's being made by like General Mills or somebody. You know, it's like ooh.
Cody said he tried a new casing on these, and he wasn't a big fan of it. Personally, I didn't even.
I thought it was really good. It was good smoke flavor too to them, and especially for like homemade sausages, those are really, really good.
Yeah.
But this is, like the sideshow act to the supper that we just had.
Yeah.
Daniel brought down some elk tenderloin, made some wild game stock polenta, and some sauteed Brussels sprouts in bacon grease.
Yes, sir.
And we just ate. I think I ate 7 serving sizes for a normal adult human of supper. So
There's a lot of food.
made
and
my wife like steak. So
Yeah, she went back
thank
for
you.
seconds, man.
I know, man.
I was very, very flattered by that.
Yeah.
Man, 4 years ago, she wasn't eating much.
She was a
red meat
vegan,
steak.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was vegan, and now look at
We
her.
would eat it. We'd eat the RV, and it had to be ground meat only on the elk. But now, with how delicious your elk was, of course, Tyler and I are like, we got to go elk hunting this year and kill one because it's been too long.
Yep.
But I don't know. It was a delicious meal. So
It
thanks,
was.
man. Did
Thank
you?
you.
Did you come by the Cooking Honest, like just growing up with it, or how did you get into the culinary scene?
So I like to eat food.
Yeah.
And so I've always liked to eat.
Couldn't tell at all.
Yep. So what's interesting is my dad is a chemist. He's a doctorate in chemistry, and he liked to cook growing up.
Cooking is
It's chemistry.
Yeah.
Chemistry, right?
It's,
denaturization.
Yep, and all that different stuff. So I learned from him. My mom's not much of a cook. Like Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving, my dad does all the cooking. So I just kind of picked it up from him. I really enjoyed it. I like eating good food, and like I was telling you earlier, so I process all my own game, and so to me, that's one big thing about hunting, being able to get that stuff, and I really love that aspect of hunting. And just one of my favorite things is making food for people that I like, and friends and family. And too bad I had to cook for you guys tonight too.
Yeah,
but,
he wasn't going to cook until Tyler said he was coming over, so he's like, okay, I'll cook fine.
Yeah, Tyler's gonna eat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
Even though he left us high and dry in the boat with Pop all day, and didn't come join us.
he can tell us 30 more minutes.
Yeah,
30,
exactly.
I'll be like 30
Yeah.
minutes. So.
Well, last time I talked to you, it seemed like you had your hands full of Pop, and I was like, I don't think we need another person in the boat. Probably.
I thought you were going to give him my dad,
So-
honestly. Y'all would have had a good time.
You think?
Yeah, Butch
Did he
caught a
catch you?
couple bass. Yeah. But
Old Bassmaster Butch.
yeah, he's out
Yeah.
there with Mo. We had boat problems. So here's the deal, guys. We met Daniel back at the hog hunt. Him and Hunter, of course, got super well acquainted on a tundra expedition.
Hunter saved my life.
Did you?
Yep.
I thought it was the dog that y'all warmed up with.
That helped too.
Yeah.
But before I
Oatmeal
wouldn't.
cream
That one,
pies.
yes, right.
Those were the savers.
Frozen oatmeal cream pies.
I
man.
think I'm lost here. What's going on?
You remember they went back to the truck early whenever we were making the loop.
So do you remember when we were crossing that creek?
Oh,
and I didn't
yeah.
have muck boots, right? And so I walked down with Cody Brown.
Yeah.
I talked about him.
Yeah.
So we get back, and it's just me, Hunter, and Cody are across the creek now, right? And so we start, let's go walk where everybody else is. And I start realizing it's getting real thick. And so I can't see Cody anymore. And I'm like, I see Hunter. And I didn't know Hunter's name at this point. I just seen him that morning. But I'm like, you know what? Like, I didn't mark the truck. I didn't do anything. So I'm like, I should probably stay near somebody that knows what they're doing. So I get kind of close to Hunter and we both
Yes. You heard that. You heard that. That's my natural appearance.
You look like you know what you're doing.
Didn't know anything about
He was
him.
very confident.
I look like
He was
it.
very confident.
I look like it. Don't take it for granted.
So I get close to him.
Elmer Fudd's also a confident guy. Okay,
It's the Bill Dance vibes you put off. That's what it was.
You gotta get that Tennessee hat, man. You would embody it. But we
Somebody send one.
that's right. We got to a fence, and I was like, Cody, you at this fence? No, Cody. Me and her are like, do you know where Cody is? No, just two of us. So I'm like, I asked what your name was, I think, and then you're like, we're gonna go this way. You're very confident about where we're going, and you're like, we should hit the road here pretty soon, and we hit the lake, which is the opposite direction of where we thought we were going. So he checks his on X, and he's like, man, it's telling me
Appearances
this.
are not always what they
That's
seem.
right. We start moving, and the thing's not moving on the on X, right? Mm. Yep. And so we
Cut that part for sure.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I didn't have the map downloaded.
Offline.
And I had no service. So
It's all right.
The updates
It's because
was
of that
very,
Rex Hunter discrepancy we had.
Yeah.
It was, and that we had a very yes. It was, the account didn't know who was
That's
fingering
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was overcast, like heavy clouds, so no idea of the
Chips
sun.
didn't work.
Satellite.
Yeah,
They can't let
couldn't
through.
see the stars either. Yeah, you know.
No wind, so we couldn't know what.
That's
you
right.
Know, didn't have
Try to
any
find some
wind.
moss, for the north side of the trees.
Yep.
Yeah.
But didn't
Not
work.
enough
Yeah.
moisture.
So
What was interesting about this whole thing that morning was that like about 40% of the people involved in this thing didn't know each other's names.
Yeah.
So we would be like, I would like be joined up with like KC and Eric or whatever, and I'd be like, and then like Sam and John would come in, and I'd be like, man, I hadn't seen Daniel in a while or whatever, and they'd be like, oh, he's right there, and it'd be like, I'd be like, we'd find out like a couple minutes later that they were talking about Chris Webb or something like
Yeah.
that, and it's like these guys have no clue who
Well,
anybody is.
we got in touch with you, Tyler, and you're talking to Hunter, and you're like, man, tell all those guys I'm sorry that we got separated. Hunter's like, it's just me and Daniel. You're like, wait, Chris and Cody aren't with you?
yeah.
yeah, we don't know where they were.
I have no clue where Chris Webb ended up.
then we found-
Did you fall in the creek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Just a little
Okay.
bit wet.
Yeah, we-
50% of the state.
we were the Creek buddies for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we met up, or I called you. I was like, hey, where y'all at? And you're like, I told you where we were at. And I was like, my map's not working. You let me know, and you said, well, we're going to be passing you in a couple minutes. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll be whistling. You know how we do the whistle?
Yeah.
Anyways,
What's
I'm
it sound
whistling.
like?
You guys do a little Bob White whistle,
Pretty
man.
good.
So
See, y'all have that old man like whistle lip thing
I'm sitting
going
here
on. I don't know how to do that. I can
whistling
whistle good like a
into the
voice,
wilderness, and somebody whistles back, same whistle.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm like,
It actually was Bob White.
I was like, okay, that's Tyler right there. I'm like, we're good to go. And it was like 20 yards away. Like, it was close. I'm like,
I think it was
he caught
Chris.
well, it
Because
gets better.
I heard the whistle
Okay.
too, dude. I'm telling you.
But then I was like, okay, I was yelling. I was like, hey, Tyler. Nobody answered. And then I'm like, where'd you go? Like, yelling now. Like, where are you?
I did that whistle in the woods,
And nobody-
you know what I got back? Can't whistle. That's what Sam Hogan did to me.
Can't whistle.
Can't whistle.
Well, what's crazy is like, so we do this whistle, and we're like, we hear the whistle, so we're standing there waiting, and about 5 minutes goes by, and you're like, and I go, that was a whistle, right? That wasn't like we didn't like make that up. Yeah, it's a pretty positive whistle. And so we call you guys, drop our pins, and we're like wildly in different places. So, what Hunter and I figured out was it was most likely a Bigfoot that whistled
right.
back at us. Yeah, so that's what we're thinking happened. But
Are you thinking that there should be a season in Texas for Bigfoots, or is it still we working on that population?
well,
density?
Oklahoma just opened the season earlier this year, and so I don't see why Texas shouldn't follow. Maybe
No,
in
but
Kansas.
they've got to
Did
be
that have to
migrating
do-
up to Kansas
For
and
sure.
down to
Does that
Texas.
have to do
you
with
know?
the expansion of the natives' lands up there? Is that why they?
I think so. And habitat too. They've gotten some habitat loss in the Panhandle, and so they've been moving out.
Oh, that
simply
big
put.
fire from a couple years ago.
Yeah,
I got
that's
you.
right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
cornering, pressuring them.
yeah,
That's
for
it.
sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm choking over here. I'm choking, trying not to cough.
Used to, he's good at it now. He's good at not doing it. But used to, man, we'd
I'm
be
looking
talking.
right, Hunter. I can't help it.
We'd be talking, or I'd be talking, and I'd have, take a second to get the words out. And he would just do this little, like, puppy dog, like a little turn of the head, And I at that point, I can't talk at all. It's over. It's
Sorry,
over.
I don't try to be critical. I just am. So, but we all got to know each other really well on that hog hunt. If y'all haven't watched that YouTube video, we'll put a link below. It's pretty fun. Shot some pigs with some CZ shotguns that Daniel brought to let us use. It's actually my first time using a semi-auto, really to shoot animals, and much. It's pretty cool. But yeah, check that out. And somehow or another, you and Hunter, you ended up back at Brian's truck.
Yep.
And y'all had like hours of conversation.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the way,
Long walks, man.
y'all discussed long walks on the beach.
Well, we killed pigs, so it took.
We had to do a lot of butchering, but somehow or another, y'all got to talking about the Sasquatch thing a little bit, right? And Hunter has had his hand in some Sasquatch management, or skunk ape, should I say? I don't know really, where
Bigfoot,
the cultural lines
Yeti.
blur there.
I feel like Bigfoot's like, it's redneck. Sometimes people feel that as an offensive thing a little bit. Sometimes,
pejorative
like if you're a
term.
redneck and you call people rednecks, it ain't no big deal. But if you're like from the city and you say I feel like Bigfoot's the same thing. It's
If you're
not from Bigfoot country and you say Bigfoot, it's kind of like, are you being derogatory here?
Is it?
Or if you're a Bigfoot, only other Bigfoots can call you a skunk ape.
Yeah, this sounds a lot
okay.
like
It makes
You
sense,
don't want to just be throwing that around.
No, you don't say that word.
So you're
Especially
speaking
in
in
the
the
woods.
same positive terms here that like Bigfoot experts speak in, where they know exactly what they're doing.
I think it's
all the
because you
time.
have some experience.
I have had some with Bigfoot habitat management. Mm-hmm. Not,
You do management for
I do
them?
not. I do not. We get a lot of requests for management.
A lot?
Fair. More
Really?
than I ever expect.
More than one?
So
How
many
often do you
peop-
get-
versus duck hunt emails? Like people who are like, "Hey, do this to get more ducks."
I don't know. That's
Are they-
that's a probably a
Is it classified?
yeah.
I see you probably can't tell us.
But that's probably like a 10 to 2,
Really?
No way.
20%.
20% are Bigfoot. Is it the
Tell
same
you-
person on the Bigfoot or multiple people, right?
No, we get some
Is
multiple.
it a
Bigfoot.
society of people, or are these vigilantes?
If it's a society, then there's some burner accounts. Trying to feel my way through
Yeah.
and figure
Yeah, I
out
got
what's
you.
what.
I get what you're saying.
Well, what I particularly liked about this was because I kind of made a joke about Bigfoot, and you quickly corrected me, explained
Yes.
that I was incorrect, and these people that are
I
approaching
didn't want it
you,
to get back to Bigfoot that he was being
for
incorrect
sure,
about them.
for sure. Well, what I liked a lot about it was that these people aren't mad at you because you guys don't believe in Bigfoot. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but they're upset because you guys aren't managing proper habitat for Bigfoot. They're
Yes, that's what it comes down to.
Is it a problem with like tree density?
Are they
Trees
telling
too
you
close
how to
together?
manage it, or are they just saying you're not doing it right? Or you need to be doing more?
They are telling us we're not doing it right.
They know. Do they have a plan?
They don't have a plan, but they also don't know what is right.
I wish they would give
Why
you
don't they?
There's
suggestions.
so many parameters. There's just it's just basically all they can tell us is that we're doing it wrong.
Sounds like my granddad.
I was gonna say, I know.
It's like anytime.
It sounds like you're holding a flashlight for your stepdad.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
You ain't doing it right no matter what you do. Yep.
See, that's weird to me. Like, how do you?
Well, from what I understand, the hunting grounds are like the bottoms, correct? And their bedding area is more grasslands.
Well, yes, in our particular region, that is what they have
Sorry,
found.
that's correct. Should have prefaced that. Yep.
In the
They-
region of East Texas, there is beliefs.
How many habitat regions are there for big feets?
Ooh, I don't know.
Wait, whoa.
But
It depends
Is it
on if
Bigfoot
you're-
or Big Feet?
It depends
What's
on
the
if
plural?
you're. Yeah,
we were
exactly.
told by the cryptozoologists that we talked to that it could be either one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's fluid.
it was.
It's
good to know.
fluid.
It's like dove and doves.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
So it depends on probably if you're like a grouper or a separator or whatever they call it, right? So like some people say there's 27 subspecies of whitetail. Some people say there's 6. Some people say there's just one whitetail, right? So probably depends on which crypto you're talking to about how they feel about the feet.
Definitely. And their clans and their histories. And
Do y'all have a burial ground on your place? Because I hear that's a pretty big deal. Like, apparently Bigfoots are, my goal is to use every plural I can.
Be inclusive.
like Big Feet's burial ground.
Yeah, apparently it's a big deal. Like, they're where they bury their dead is like a big deal to them.
You'll have to give me a description. I'm certain it doesn't
Remember
have
that thing?
headstones.
Remember that thing we found in the woods, and you and I were standing on top of that hill. We're like, "What is this?"
Yes.
That's a Bigfoot burial ground.
Yeah, when we were out there at Cedar Creek WMA.
Now everyone's going to go to Cedar Creek.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one.
That one.
Island, Cedar Creek Island.
Cedar Creek Island.
Yeah.
That spot. Okay.
So, do you really know anything about big feet? About their habits, their habitat?
Honestly.
Yeah.
I know some stuff that can't be told.
I was going to say, he can't say is what it is.
Yeah.
It's classified.
It's kind of like UFO type stuff.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. They don't exist.
You know, we've had this conversation in the past,
but I can't respond that. I can't respond to emails with that.
I was a pretty big believer until the trail camera
It's a good way to get a
happened.
return email.
Yeah.
You know, trail cameras kind of killed the Bigfoot thing.
My theory is that they're a
You
water-based animal.
Yeah.
So they do come on land a little bit, but spend the majority of their time in the water.
Amphibious.
I watched. That kind of goes back to some type of a Godzilla movie that I watched one time. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like there was like a Godzilla versus the Yeti or something, and then the Yeti spent some time down around the water, and some of its DNA got lost in the water, and then it replicated itself somehow. Very unique form of reproduction.
It's interesting.
Sounds like
biologist ever heard of. Yeah.
It sounds like the Big Bang Theory to me.
Yeah, it pretty much is. It was like
Makes about much sense.
There was a aquatic Yeti. It's pretty cool. But
We've only explored 10% of the world's oceans.
yeah, but that would require
I've
a
explored about
Bigfoot
none
to
of it.
be a very non-pressure sensitive critter because all that 90% is all the stuff that's below 1,000 foot deep or whatever.
Deep.
Since they're in the water, would they be big fins?
That's a good question. Maybe big flippers.
Maybe that's where the
Big
merman.
flippers. There you go.
Yeah.
Flippers and feet. Don't get them pluralized.
Imagine being like a couple miles off the coast, deep sea fishing, and you see something that's like 8-9 feet long, really hairy, about the size of a person, just swimming along.
So one of the actually most interesting facts that has been brought up was that if Bigfoots were real, could they help us manage
Wild hog
deer
population.
and wild hog populations?
Yep.
They already do.
They don't eat meat.
Why do you think that the hogs haven't taken over yet? It's all because of the feet.
What have they not taken over? Asphalt? Pavement? You mean
Kansas.
the world?
Yeah, the world.
You're talking about the world. I thought you were talking about East Texas.
They're
I'm like, what
taking-
have they not conquered here?
No,
I've seen them in the
problem,
schoolyard.
The reason is,
Like-
Hunter, here's the problem. If y'all were managing better for the big feets,
They can
we
help
wouldn't
us with
have the hog
hogs.
problem we have here. But because Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks is doing a much better job of managing for big feet, they don't have a hog problem.
I don't want to speak on behalf of the entire state of Kansas, but I'm going to and say I think we do a better job.
Yeah.
In East Texas.
Well, I
we
think,
don't
I
have
think
a hog
all
problem there.
our us.
No, that's not we. I'm sorry.
Yes,
we
all
sought to
us,
save state lines.
us and we's. We all, we're all private landowners to some extent. All of us need to
Do our
Step
part.
up,
do our part. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
so then what's the first of all,
I think we need to go to a state agency and get
I was gonna say,
confirmation.
is the state going to actually do something about this?
I don't know. Although I feel like if they opened a season like Oklahoma did,
Yep. Oklahoma was first in a lot of things.
I would think it would be around. Yeah.
Tiger King,
Yeah.
Alcoholism.
Nothing.
casinos.
They can be first in Tiger King because there will never be that again. What's going to top that?
First and only.
That's true.
Yeah.
And what were we talking about?
So the state is the state actually seriously considering any of this?
Oh yes, we were talking about. I'm thinking season would be around hunting season. When,
Is that SZN?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Season.
When's their mating season?
When?
When are they spawning?
I don't know when they spawn. But I'm thinking the rut is going to be around that October, November. Now, I could see a very successful
Oh, no
season.
way, dude. Because I've been out in the woods a lot in those times. It has to be sometimes.
Really?
It's not
Have
standard.
you spent a lot of time in the
whitetail
woods during that time of
I
the year?
know.
Well, here's the thing. They're invasive, I'm assuming. There's okay.
If they're the original creatures
Can
on
you
Earth,
hunt at night?
according
Can you
to-
hunt at night?
You spotlight them?
I'm thinking I could have a very good season hunting Bigfoot if we had a season October 31st. That night.
Just that night.
I could fill some tags that
I'm
night.
just saying, somebody in Austin is considering that we should do something about these emails that we're getting, and we should actually manage habitat. There has to be, doesn't there? Isn't somebody down there doing that? What do you think?
I don't know.
You can't speak
I
to
don't know
it.
if they
I'm
work
glad
for the
it's-
department.
I'm glad
I
it's
bet you
not
there's
my
plenty
job.
of people in Austin who are considering Bigfoot.
I feel like somebody in the department though is like,
I
in
am
some way.
glad it's not my job.
It is.
Is that your Bigfoot shirt?
No, it's my Harambe shirt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
I
I'm
would
not
say
a Harambe expert.
Harambe.
I thought it was hombre.
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 My brother.
Hombre.
How many of y'all watch Friends?
I mean, looks like my hombre.
Yeah, he does look like hombre.
Hombre.
1999, 2016.
Hombre.
Never forget, man.
Do you know that Harambe was born in 99?
I think so. I didn't
shirt?
fact check the T-shirt, but
It
it's
was-
like a Plain of Tupac. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with Tupac. He was a
Yeah.
rapper back in the 90s.
Yeah.
He wore a blue bandana similar to this.
But he's not dead.
Well, he lives on.
He's
right?
a lot like
And-
Bigfoot.
A lot like
And a lot like Harambe.
Yeah.
He's not dead either, man. He lives on.
Yeah, I hear you.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. Personification.
Well, if you can't tell, we all got to know each other real well and have become the greatest of friends, right? So we were talking with Daniel at the hog event some about coming back down and doing some hanging out, and we all
Cooking
plan
for
on
us.
doing some turkey hunting this year. So late March was really the only time that we could do a fishing trip, and we said, man, it's not the greatest time of year to catch like numbers of fish, but if you want to catch a big bass, it's a good time to come down.
Yep.
And the first day, instead of bass fishing, we completely did something different, and that is mechanic on boats all day. So
a little wrenching.
yeah.
And we did some live scoping for crappie, too.
We did. At the end of the day, it kind of thinks that Tyler had baseball practice, so we actually had to remember the boat to go get on there, and Hunter deckhanded for us. Did
Great
he deckhand
job.
for you while you were on the boat?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Deckhand.
Okay. He did.
Yeah.
he was
real close.
He did a good job. I think I don't want to crack on him too bad, but he did a good job of losing fish when I was on there.
That was nice of him.
he caught a big one. Was it 1.9, something like that? 191 that he caught.
Was it? Did y'all weigh it?
Yeah.
That was the first. I think that was the first one that we weighed, and the first one I landed that morning.
We didn't. I don't know that we weighed another one, did we?
I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
we caught bigger ones than
I think
that.
there was for sure a
I think
couple
there
that
was
were right in
two
there.
that were
Like
bigger, but we never
five
weighed
and a
them.
half.
5.5
definitely.
inches, pounds.
Why did y'all decide to weigh a fish?
See what we were.
We want to see if
working
it's 2.
I got you.
I think 2's like the mark for Dylan, kind of right. That's when he's like, okay, this is a serious fish.
with. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that riding
I
around with
caught a
Dylan, there were
serious
some
fish
times
today.
whenever like he saw a certain fish on the scope, and he was like,
Oh yeah.
he chased it around for a little
Yeah.
bit.
Oh, yeah, he got real excited about some of that stuff. Yep.
Yeah. So that was a new thing for me. New thing for
Yeah,
Daniel.
I never live scoped before.
It's insane, dude. I didn't.
Hunter's been around it some.
Yeah.
So Hunter, explain it to those who don't know.
It's basically a sonogram.
With
you
a
know,
chip.
It's got some chips you can put in there, get different versions.
Yeah.
It's
Sonogram?
it's a sonogram. You know,
Really? You mean
full-time-
like when you go look at it,
When you go look at a baby.
Like a baby.
Yep. And they're
try to
like,
sex a child.
it's your baby. You know, like Jerry Springer. That's
Paternity test kind of thing.
Yep, definitely. You can look at, of course, the baby. You know, when you're looking at a baby on a sonogram, it's not.
Have you looked at babies on sonograms?
No, never.
I didn't think
But
so.
Not yet.
I've seen pictures like in science books. It's not 30 foot away. It's a clear picture. This you kind of got to have a trained eye for it, and Dylan really does that well.
Yeah.
He does.
Picking
Yeah, he
stuff
does.
up on because the fish can lay flat on a stick, but the sonogram is going to pick up the harder texture of the scales of that fish and throw a brighter light
Yeah.
on that fish
You know, what was
than the stick. So Dylan's
Yeah.
eye is trained to pick up that, or even just a flicker of a tail. I haven't been around it enough to use or to know it that well, so I was very thankful to pick up some stuff from him.
Yeah, he would say there's a fish in that tree right there, and he'd show like a split tree or whatever, and he would kind of adjust it around a little bit, and all of a sudden it would just light up. You could kind of see it was just like the stick was right there, but it was also real hot in one spot,
Yep.
you know. It's pretty cool.
He figured out too that gar bounced harder than crappie.
They shine brighter and they shimmer a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because they're hard scales, or
I guess so.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
That thick scale.
Yeah, it was super cool though, man. It's like I was blown away. I was videoing the whole time pretty much, but one time after we had a bunch of them on video already, I just held the camera, kind of framed it up, and then stopped paying attention. I looked down at the screen to watch what they were doing. And, like, you literally could see the fish, like, turn its body and go up. And I was like, that is wild, man.
Crazy, man.
And you could tell, like, you pretty much knew when you're about to get bit, you know? It's crazy.
And the way the rigs we were running, you could actually see the fish bite. So it wasn't like a clear picture like you'd see it at television. So, you know, you got a picture, basically a pixelated black and white, no straight line image, you know, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
But you could see the movement of the fish in your lure. You could basically see him bite it.
Well, I think the big difference, because I've seen like the a little bit older sonogram stuff, and like your grandfather had on his boat today, like you see like the slashes, and it's not that, because that's like, okay, there's something down there moving. This was a lot more like real time. You could tell it's a fish, you know, especially as you
So
got
between
closer.
just a regular sonar and what you get now with like side imaging and down imaging, it's a good mix of both.
I'd agree.
Yeah, that's basically what you're going to be looking at.
Yeah.
When are they going to say no more? Is that going to ever happen?
I think so.
I think so, too.
My dad
Dude,
thinks
it's
so,
almost
for
cheating,
sure.
man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I'll tell you this,
If you
though.
can't use a drone to hunt elk
Yeah.
in Colorado, I don't see why.
Probably can't live scope in Colorado.
Yeah.
Probably can't.
Probably not.
I mean,
But
I just think it's going to
I
go.
tell you this, it didn't feel as dirty doing it as I thought it would.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
a guy that hasn't used it, especially.
It ain't a guaranteed deal either.
No.
Like, we saw a whole lot of fish that you couldn't catch. And I always, like, in my mind, thought it was like, oh, well, you just find
Yeah.
a fish and catch it.
But here's
Yeah.
my deal: is we literally were in 8 to 10 foot of water yesterday the whole time, just out in the middle. On a flat, there's no like particular reason necessarily. I mean, the crappie are there, but so are other fish. There's no reason that like, but there's no way to target those fish outside of having that.
Yep.
Really, you know what I mean? Like, you're out of luck. If you'd have sat there and put jigs down by the trees that you could see all day, you'd ended up with like 3 or 4
Depressing.
fish. Yeah.
How many trees though did we see that we fished?
Oh,
Like
there were-
above
a ton
water.
of them were underwater.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Majority of
90%
them.
of what we fished was
Underwater.
underwater.
Yeah.
The tops were broken off. You couldn't see them. So, I mean, you had no reference point. You had like
Exactly.
normally if we were out there, we'd just go up to that tree that was standing above
Yeah.
water and throw at it.
Well, and that's one thing that Casey and I talked about. Like, it's funny because like you fish, you know, before like I use this thing, you know, you find trees, find structure, and you okay, I'm trying to jig, see if something's there. Spend a little bit of time, then move on, right? And like on that, using that live scope, you realize how many trees don't have anything on there. With the live scope, you're like, okay, I'm not gonna keep moving. Like, no point in throwing anything around it. So now, like today, when we were fishing without it, you're like, there's probably nothing down there. Yeah, you're just like,
It really is depressing.
It almost feels futile, man. Because you're just like,
Because honestly, I've always thought the inverse. I've always thought like, oh,
Yep.
there's like 4 crappie on every tree, but you just can't make them bite.
Yep.
No, that's not the case. If a crappie's there, he's going to eat your lure, most likely.
Yep.
And whenever there's nothing eating it, there's nothing there.
yeah.
It's crazy.
If there's a crappie there, more than likely they're going to bite. Crappie are crappie are
They're
more
machines, man.
more than bass.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things too about the live scope is like you go, okay, we're in 10 feet of water. They're sitting at 7. Okay, that one just moved down to the bottom. And
Yeah.
you could just go right down to it, right up. It wasn't like, well,
Dude,
let's fish at 6 feet today or whatever.
That's a big deal to me too. It's like, how many times when you're just fishing and you don't have that, are you just going to the bottom and reeling up a little bit? You know,
Yeah.
nowhere. Like you're just not effective.
You know
at
what
that
makes that blew my mind is that we actually do have days where we sack them up.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, dude,
So could you imagine what the
point. Live scope.
live scope would look like if you had that?
oh yeah, I'm like, it has to just look like a big blur of fire down there.
Stuff
The fish
moving
have to
all
be
over the
stacked on
place.
top of each other.
Yeah, and
I
then
wanna
you would
see it.
realize it makes you realize like on those days how good of days you were actually having.
Oh yeah.
Without live scope. So like pre live scope days, and you know you're like, well, that was we caught a few 25 catfish or 20 crappie or whatever. You know, it's like okay, that was really good.
Yeah.
Now there was a crappie tournament this weekend, so this might be skewed, but Daniel and I remarked at how many people we saw live scoping. I mean, it was over half the boats that we saw were live scoping. And it's like, maybe it is because there's a crappie tournament, or maybe it's becoming that popular.
Well, and some of the boats that weren't live scoping, they still had live scopes on them. Like the guys bass fishing, and I've heard about it being a lot more popular. It's cool, man.
Yeah.
You heard about the guy from Ivy, right?
He live scoped those big bass.
That's what I've understood. So we've had, I don't know if you have heard, but there's a lake in West Texas that they've caught I don't know, probably 7.
It's the one that everyone should go to.
Yeah, definitely.
There's
go
no
there.
bass and fork.
They've caught 7 lunkers, which a lunker in Texas is 13 pounds, and so they've caught 7 this year. Everybody's like, "Oh, they're going to break the record," which I think Fork had 27 one year.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, but anyway, the guy, apparently one of the guys, I think this is all stuff that I've heard. I have not read this, but there was a guy that's caught 2 of them this year, and he's figured out how to tell what a bass and a big bass looks like on the live scope, and he just said he just pitches at it over and over and over again until it bites.
So it's kind of like when it's on, like we were talking about today, like when you could see him on the bed or when the water's same thing.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, okay, I'm going to try to harass it. And
that's the thing is how many times are you just fishing down the bank and your bait goes in front of a 13-pounder? Or on Lake Fork, that happens. Not on every lake, but and you just, he would have bit if you'd have thrown 10 times at that same stump that he's sitting on, or she's sitting on.
My granddad remarked that today.
Yeah.
He said, how many times we throw it in front of one and didn't hit?
I think about it all the time, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. Those big fish especially.
When you get that intuition, when you spend time on the lake, you have this intuition of this is a big fish spot. And I would almost bet that when you do feel that, it really is. There's a big fish around. Not because you can feel that fish, but what big fish habitat looks like with depths and structure and stuff.
But how do you get that?
It's time on the lake.
Time on the lake and catching big fish in those spots. So most of the time, your gut feeling is correct.
Yeah.
Well, it's any animal, right? Turkeys, big deer. You can get to a spot and there'll be subtle differences that okay, this is quality big deer habitat, quality nice turkey habitat, and how many times you don't hear a gobble, there's birds there. For sure. Same thing. You don't see a big deer, but they're there.
I believe you though.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
He's K.C. and I have a mutual friend that's killed a ton of big bucks. He's got them hanging all in his house, and he really would probably have a hard time explaining a lot of times why he shot those deer. But dude, he is the guttiest guy you've ever met. I mean, he can get in front of a deer. Yep. He just can't really tell you why. It's one of them things. And we talk about this a lot on our podcast. Is because we do a lot of deer talk. But there are guys out there that are quote unquote experts in the whitetail woods, and they can't hardly explain on some of these podcasts why they cannot. It's such an experience and a subconscious gut feeling thing, and it's weird. And honestly, they probably shouldn't be on a podcast explaining it. You know what I mean? They should just keep killing deer. You
think about it, not everybody's a teacher, not everybody's an explainer. There's people that are extremely good at things that necessarily can't teach it. And some of it too, and that's one reason I started my podcast is because I meet a lot of these people. And I'm like, man, I just want to sit here and talk with you, spend time with you, walk around with you in the woods, so I can try to pick some of it up, right? And I've met a lot of people like that. They can't explain why, but if you spend enough time with them, you can you shorten your learning curve, right?
Yeah, for sure, man.
He said, did you see the hand reference? He said we walk around in the woods. Because everybody deserted us.
That word.
In the ice.
Yeah. And it was -10, -15 degrees.
That was a Toyota Tacoma bed with a bed cover.
Did y'all get in the bed?
No, we couldn't. We couldn't fit. We would have if we could have fit.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
Yeah.
Brian.
But the dog opened
he had the storage boxes, which were sweet.
Oh.
Unless you're trying to
not die.
Get some company back there.
You didn't want to hop up in there like a casket or something?
I wanted to. It was freezing
we
cold.
both talked about I said, if I wasn't here, would you get up there? He goes, I'd be in there right now cuddling that dog. It's me too.
Y'all were there forever.
One of us could have fit, but the other one couldn't.
Yeah.
We were like, we don't want to be the one who leaves that guy outside.
Man, y'all are kind people.
Man,
well, so what it was, he was sitting on the side that he could have slid into, and he was like, man, I shouldn't have felt right sliding in there. And I'm like, huh. I'm thinking if you get up, man, I'd slide in there right now.
Just taking turns, guys.
Yeah. Well, the worst part about it was, too, I'd ridden with Brian, so I had my heavy duck gear inside the cab. I could see it.
I
just couldn't get to it.
Thanks, Brian.
How many more minutes would it have taken for you to break a window?
60 minutes. Like we were
an hour. Like within an hour, you'd have broken a window.
I probably would have cuddled Hunter before that, but.
Part of the
It was cold.
He wants to join the element, doesn't he?
For sure.
I heard what it takes, man. You know, I'm just trying to.
For sure.
Well, what happened too is like we got out of the woods, and it was like, okay, I can see the truck way off over there. Oh my god! And me and Hunter were like,
"Do you want to truck?"
Yeah, we're like, "Do you want to go back in?" And then we heard you guys shoot, and I'm like, "Man, they're gonna be in there for a while."
We're going to the truck.
We're going to the truck. Well, we even saw. I think it was Brian. We're walking on the road and we see someone like 300 yards ahead of us in orange, like ducking to the woods, like far from where you guys, half a mile.
It might have been Chris because he was lost still
he was
at the
getting
time.
it too,
He
man.
was
If he was ahead of
zigzagging.
y'all, it probably was Chris.
Well, and what was funny is like he's like, "Oh, it must have been another hunter." I go, "There's no one else out here besides us
no one.
crazy dudes," you know.
Half inch of ice. We're like, man, that's the truck over there. But the road zags in the wrong zig.
Yep.
And so you've got a zigzag zig for about 2 miles when you can see it at a mile and a quarter.
And it was a gravel road that was iced over.
Slicked over
We
with
were
ice.
like sliding all over the place walking on that thing, man. Yeah.
Needed some cleats.
Yep, for
Glad
sure.
that's over. I'm glad the spring has sprung around
in
here
fact,
now.
when they started shooting, you just sat down on the ice.
I did.
Yeah.
Did
I mean,
you?
it took gravity took
It was a swift sit down.
yeah, very fast.
That I didn't plan on happening.
Oh, you
so-
didn't?
No.
SSD.
But he was like, I'm just going to sit here and listen,
Yeah.
for a while. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, it's like one of those. It's
Put
like
his ear to the ground. It's
you're
like
like-
Kansas Buffalo Trip.
that's right. I was just seeing how many hogs there were. I was like 3. Now there's 4 dead. Okay.
Yep.
Get on the
What
ground.
happened? Yep.
Golly, man.
I slipped and fell and kind of and he just grabbed me by the shirts, by the scuff right here and just picked me up. He said, "Come on, youngin."
Come me, son. I'm gonna let you die.
Well, speaking of hogs, you caught your biggest bass ever today, man.
I did, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
6-pounder.
Yeah,
So,
it was a toad, dude.
it was,
stoked for
man.
you.
That was cool. And like I said, when we talked at the hog hunt, you were like, "Hey, you want to come down and catch some 10-pound bass?" I said, "Absolutely."
Did I say 10-pound bass?
Yeah, I was like,
Sorry.
"You happy at 10-pound bass?" Man, one, I told you it was funny. I have a good friend of mine. We call him D Money. He's on the podcast with me a little bit, and he's from Arkansas. He's an avid fisherman. So I hadn't heard about Lake Fork. I text him, and I'm like, "Hey man, have you ever heard of this place in Texas called Lake Fork?" And he like calls me, and he's like, "My hands are shaking." I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Lake Fork's like one of the top lakes in the country, dude." He's like top 3, top 4. He's like, "You got to train to fish that lake." He's like, dude, he was laying on thick, man.
Yeah,
and I was
funny.
like, really? Like, I'm like, do you just use like worms there? And he's like, "Oh my gosh, man." I was gonna bring a worm bobber with me. Is that
Yeah,
good?
yeah. It
Tell
worked.
him you threw live bait on a catfish pole out of a John boat today.
I did. Yeah. Well, I texted him and said, "Man, they use to catch bass in here. They use catfish poles."
Yeah.
And he and I, we fish catfish together, and we caught a couple 40-pound blue cats out in South Carolina. I mean, so like we're very used to big tackle. And I remember getting in the boat. I'm like, it is a catfish rod with a catfish reel on it, like. And we threw what was salty black and salty
Black salties.
black salties. Yeah, big
Yeah,
goldfish,
kind of like
man.
a hybrid goldfish thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
The bass like those, and so did that catfish I caught, man.
Yeah, man.
So
Yeah.
little 4-pound
I
catfish.
can't believe it.
but-
Catfish ate him a black salt.
He's hungry, man.
Dude, Pop, so I was looking at something else. I think I was working a jig or something, and he was like, "Hey, your rod just bent." And I'm like, I had the
didn't
clicker
believe him.
on.
I did not believe him.
I
He
neither.
said
Well,
it.
because like the black solid, they pull a little bit, and
Yeah.
so I thought maybe the line just went tight or something. And he's like, "No, I saw it bend." I'm like, "It didn't click." I had a clicker on, so I'm like, "Okay, it must not have been that big." And then I look back, and the line would go slack and get tight, and I'm like, "Let me just try it." So I hand my rod to Pop, and I picked it up, and there was catfish on the end of that thing, man. Like he was on there for 2 or 3 minutes, like
Oh,
before
yeah, he's just swimming around with his mouth.
Yep. So
Crazy.
but
Yeah.
that 6-pounder. I was we caught a 2-pounder earlier in the day. We had the other one broke off.
Okay, we've told this story a couple times,
Yep.
but it's such good fodder for this conversation. We have to tell it again.
Well, and I think too. Let's paint the picture. So yesterday we had a great time, K.C. on the water. I
Yeah.
caught that yellow bass, you know, and that was about it. We had some engine trouble, so I was very optimistic about today. I'm like, it's gonna be a good day. So we get out. We're in the water about an hour, maybe 30 minutes, and you throw out that black salty, and I'm like, okay. and it starts clicking. You're like, man, grab it. So grab the rod. I go to set the hook, which I didn't understand. I set the hook wrong. In case let me know that.
No. Very discreetly was suggesting maybe harder next time.
So I set the hook, and I go to reel, and then I feel the tension go slack, and I'm like, oh, man, it got off or something, spit it out. And so I was kind of like shaking my head and hand you the rod back, and you start reeling, no, it's still on there. And so you then set the hook and broke the line.
Yeah, so
It's called a Lake Fork hook set.
I learned that now, man.
And really, looking back, I probably shouldn't have popped it as hard. But, man, when you grow up around here with 10-pound bass plus, it's like you're trying to jam that hook in a big old piece of bone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In top lip.
Cinder block.
Yeah. So there's an action, which I saw yours. Yours is kind of like almost like the circle hook set.
Yep.
You know, like you just kind of lean back into it.
Well, in my background, I do a lot of catfishing, so that's the hook set, right?
It works. And the standard bass set is like a pop, right? The Lake Fork set is the
Step back.
Hyper,
You got to step
Well,
back.
it uses the feet.
Exaggerated
You
version
employ
of
the
it.
It's a step back.
Yeah, you employ the feet.
That's, oh, you saw me. It's like
I did, yeah. It's like on the boat.
Dude, I'm telling you, you get like a 20-foot bass boat. The dudes are using the whole front deck to set the hook.
They make
dude.
bigger decks on bass boats for Lake Fork.
Solely for that reason.
Solely
set
for that.
I believe it.
I've seen a guy jump from the front deck to the back
Now,
behind the
is there
seats.
is there a footworks like YouTube video I go watch? You guys made one of these about how to probably
maybe we
place
need
feet?
to put that on the channel.
Like,
Good
for sure.
idea.
Yeah,
I like
way
that a
to
lot.
go.
Lake Fork
Put me in the
hook set.
comments as a credit.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
really, I told you this earlier, but God likes to sometimes teach us lessons over a long period of time, and sometimes He gives us 5 seconds to
Real
say,
short
"Hey,
lessons.
be more humble, sir. Don't tell Daniel he did a bad job on the hook set because I'm going to make you break your line right now." Anyways, the next go around, you performed flawlessly. It was the perfect hook set.
Yep, pulling a nice 2-pound bass.
Yeah.
And that was my first Lake Fork bass. So, and I kind of told you earlier, I like killing ducks at Reelfoot Lake. I like hunting pheasants in South Dakota. I like killing elk, Colorado. Like my mind's like I want to go to the coolest place, the best place to do that thing. I'm going to do it. And so my mind's like Lake Fork. That's some of the best bass in the country. So I felt really blessed with that 2-pound bass.
How is your
man.
time machine?
What do you mean?
Is it fully functional? Because if you could go back to 93, now you're talking, bro. But Lake Fork is still one of the best places for sure.
Yeah.
I love it, man. It's still. Tyler talk about it a lot. It's not what it used to be, but it's still
I mean,
top.
the pros came. They come do the Toyota Texas Bass Classic and stuff like that. And I don't know, it was 5-7 years ago. I mean, they broke. I might have broken the record a couple times out here, but they broke the.
They broke the
4-day.
5 fish and the 4-day and a couple different things.
Well, this is how I know it's a big bass lake, and you guys are big bass fishermen. So I pulled that 6-pounder in, which we took pictures. You're like, man, that's awesome. That's my personal best. So I was pretty stoked about it. But it was took a couple pictures. Okay, put it back. Like any other lake or most other lakes we fish, they'd be, oh my gosh, man, everybody would jazz, taking a ton of pictures. Your buddy's going to take pictures of the bass, and claim it as their own, and you're just like, yeah, man, okay. Just put it back.
My dad's got a funny story.
I tried to be hype. We gave him a fist bump.
You did. No, it was cool, but it was just so funny because I'm like, man, this is like
My
that's
dad's
not a
got-
big bass to them, you know?
My dad tells a story where he had some cousins or something come down, like kind of their family or whatever, and he was going to take them all out fishing on Lake Fork for bass, And he said they're all in the boat or whatever, working down this bank, and my dad is casting and hooks a fish and pulls it in. He says it's a solid 5-pounder. He said he just unhooks it and throws it back in real quick. He said everybody in the boat was dead silent, like, what did you just do?
Yep.
Like they could not believe that he just threw that sucker back without taking a picture.
And
or
that's
something.
the thing is like where I come from, you pull a 4 or 5-pound bass, you're taking some time, think about that. You're gonna live stream it, send it to your mom, tell your wife, hey, we need it. It's crazy. So pull a 6-pound bass and you're like, man, it's cool. It's just do you want some pictures?
It's crazy, dude. I mean, we think it's a good fish, Like if we catch 6-pounder when it's just me and him, we're stoked,
sure.
But he goes back in the water pretty quick, We'll take a cell phone picture just to post social or whatever.
To be honest, I really try to be pretty conscious about keeping fish in the water and getting them back pretty quick.
Yeah,
anyways.
you are, man, for sure.
Not because I'm just always Mr. Conservation, which I do care about that stuff, but man, so many fish on the lake die from mishandling.
Oh, yeah.
And it's I care about the resource more than the individual fish. Like, I'll knock that fish in the head and eat it. You know.
Well, that's the thing is like we have a tournament every weekend. I mean, there's like a bass fishing tournament like every weekend on the lake. You know, and whether it's a working man's or it's like a big one or whatever.
We know a guy who's a old pro. He was on. He fished the Classic a few times. You know, was on the tour. Really intelligent guy, kind of like a redneck intelligent type.
Yep.
And he's done a lot of his own personal studies on stuff, and he believes that if a fish is ever caught in its lifetime, there's no way that fish gets over like the 10-pound mark. Has he told you that stuff before?
I've heard him say that he thinks about 50% of the fish that are caught and released die.
Yeah, I believe that for sure.
That.
Really?
Yeah. I think anytime you take that mucus layer off, they're toast, that slime layer.
Well, that's the thing is like, man, dudes will just holding that fish, drop it, flops around the carpet in the boat.
I try so hard to keep it off the carpet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Richard says that like fish that get caught, it stunts their growth indefinitely.
Really?
So,
Well, it's like you know what tailing gloves are.
Yeah.
It's like that's. I don't use tailing gloves for that reason because I think it just further. Like, especially big trout and stuff you're going to release, like, it doesn't do anything good. You know, it helps you hold on the fish, but that just tears those things up, man.
Yeah.
I just always think, I mean, this is such, like, basic. You hear this, too, a lot. It's kind of cliche, but, like, I just think, like, if I was not breathing right now, how would I feel? You know what I mean? So, like, I keep that. Like, when we do pictures of if we catch a good bass on the lake or something, I mean, you got a good handle. You got a big old mouth to handle. So just stick that sucker in the water and hold on tight until the camera's ready. It's not that hard, you know?
Good.
And then when he's ready, just get it up, take a picture, and in literally 4 seconds, it's back in the water. And if you need to take more pictures, just hold it back in there.
Well, that's like we did that a couple times today, you know, because like get the camera ready and everything, and like your case, like, hey, put it back in the water, like make sure you give it a drink, you know, and that's how those things don't die, you know. And I think another thing to think about too is like again like basic stuff. But when I first started fishing, I'd always hold the fish vertical, and so its organ's not meant to sit that way, right? You know, it sits horizontal in the water, and so that's something my wife told me. My wife's a biologist, and so like when I handle fish, take pictures, I always try to hold it, you know, horizontal, so it's not banging its organs around in there and stuff. But
So what kind of biologist?
Environmental science. She is especially
biologist.
Herpetology is like her area of research. So that was amphibians, reptiles.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
That's my favorite exhibit at the zoos is the herpetology, man.
Man, I don't hate snakes, but she'll handle them. Like I saw her jump out of a canoe on like a trip and grab a northern water snake out of the water to show people that snakes aren't bad. It bit her and then started musking on her. She's like, it's not scary.
The
they aren't
musking's
bad.
the worst part. I'm fine with the biting, but the musking is not
I was
good.
like,
I'm not fine with any of that.
No, I'm not either. I'm like, that's cool that snake stays over there, man. That's all I got, man.
I think I'd rather be musky.
We'd be cool. I'm all about that, man.
No, I'm good.
Oh, man. So, that's gives me the herpy jerpies.
Oh, podcast title right there. Herpy jerpies.
The herpy jerpies.
That is funny, dude.
So what does she do with that?
So actually, right now she's in med school. So, but she was a naturalist in the Missouri Department of Conservation for 4 years, and then I convinced her to move to Kansas City because I got married. I'm awesome to her and
to her though,
to her, not someone else. Okay. No, that's probably me being awesome part. But no, she really enjoyed it. But and anyone listening to this that has ever done anything in like biology is, you know, you get that bachelor's degree and to make any sort of living or any longevity, you have to get a master's degree, and then you kind of get out of the field, right? And so she enjoyed the field biology, but she did not want to take that next step up, and so she kind of looked at some other options and started working in a hospital and really enjoyed it. And so she loves the outdoors, loves wildlife. So.
Yeah, that's cool. My wife tricked me pretty hard. Yeah, she was supposed to be a doctor. Yeah. Yeah,
mine's in med school. So
she teaches at one of the worst paying schools in Texas. So.
With the things to do for love, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, she's just she loves what she does, you know. So and she would have loved being a doctor too, but she kind of got coaching in her blood. So that's what she does. But anyway, what do you think?
I think that Daniel got a mess of fish.
I
even
did,
out
man.
Of the deal, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Are you taking some crappie home?
I am,
yeah.
Very excited about that, man.
We talked about like what the goals were for the weekend. You know, when he kind of first got here, and it was, his wife made him take a cooler down, so that's a pretty good indication of what needs to happen. So we got a whole gallon baggie of crappie and a barfish.
That's right, yellow bass.
Yellow bass,
they're good.
For those,
they're tasty.
Oh yeah. I told him, I was like, man. whenever you fry those up, you're not gonna be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
No, That's, they're real good. I told him too. I was like, man,
It's Hunter's favorite fish.
I think that you can. There's definitely a difference in all fishes, but I think that people really exaggerated a whole bunch. Like most fish, freshwater fish taste pretty close to the same. You know, it's just people kind of like to hate on stuff just because it's fun to talk about something sometimes.
Yeah.
But also
Like
we have a
Bigfoots.
4-pound catfish to clean outside after we get off the podcast, and then got your biggest bass caught. So we really accomplished everything we were trying to this weekend.
Yeah, and got a podcast recorded, man.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. And
yeah.
I'm going to send you home with hog ham, I think.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a fig tree.
And a fig tree.
Golly, man.
Dude, I made out good on this this little trip here.
Just taking some non-natives across state lines.
I know,
That should
dude.
be a federal offense right there.
USDA, we leave us alone.
I ain't gonna tell my wife about it yet. You know. Okay.
Let me ask you this.
Shoot.
If you're heading back to Kansas and get in Oklahoma and the legislation allows it, and you
Yes.
see a Bigfoot,
Yes.
you're going to take him?
Yeah,
You
all
shoot
day
them in the
long, man.
mortgage.
I'd probably use a compound bow. I think it's a little unethical to shoot them with a rifle.
Oh, too easy.
What about
Too
a
easy.
horizontal bow?
Do they offer non-resident tags?
Man, I think they do offer non-resident tags, but I don't know if there's a draw system yet. Just got it introduced this year, so I haven't.
What if you hit one?
Does anyone
And-
have points built up for the Oklahoma Bigfoot?
That first year, no points. Everybody's on the same playing
Oh,
board.
no point creep. That's cool.
Yeah. My next question is, what are you, as a guy who cooked us a good meal today, how you going to cook a Bigfoot?
I like the shanks on most animals.
Okay.
I'm gonna start there, man. Make some
Big
ossobuco.
calves on that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
At
I'm
least the
thinking.
ones. At least the ones you've seen, right?
I say, well, and I do want to mention, I like to eat animals, so to eat animals, you kind of have to kill them. And Hunter and I talked about this, that, every violent interaction people have had with Bigfoot, it's always been escaped by the person. Most times them trying to shoot them, trying to mess with the Bigfoot. So keep that in mind. They're not necessarily dangerous creatures. It's like an elephant, right? An elephant can hurt you, but it's not really going to hurt you unless you poke it, in the eye.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to kill it ethically, for sure. My guess would be the meat's not going to taste good if he runs for a little bit and have to go track him. But,
Yeah,
or her.
adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
What caliber would you use on a Bigfoot?
The biggest.
Yes.
Because
You want him to drop.
I want it done.
Hunter's
I
like,
want
I
to
need-
cook it
Don't want mine.
with the shot. When I shoot it, I want it cooked.
Do not want to eat this.
He's like 7mm and up, man.
It's going to
He's
clean
like-
it when it's done.
Let me ask you this: Are the people that have been emailing you going to come after you shoot a Bigfoot?
Oh, yeah, I'd have to move.
Yeah.
Well, would you go public with you or the one who shot a Bigfoot?
I would go anonymously. I think so.
Kind of like if you won the lottery, you win it, but I'm not going to tell everybody.
I think there's
account.
a big enough. I think there's
Yeah,
a big enough
here's
crowd
the-
out there that
But
would.
How would you mount it?
You could monetize that thing if you went public with it, though, with your name and everything.
You could, dude, a Euro mount would be pretty cool. Because it looks like a dude head, except it's
Not
real
to be
big.
confused with a doodad.
Yeah, not a dude head.
Two different things. But
Dude,
what about a polar bear mount or like a brown bear mount? It's just standing there
Yeah, on a little box.
behind your couch.
Yeah.
Holding a donut.
Golly, you talk about walking in the dark one night.
Right. Put an ammo belt on him, make him look like a Wookiee.
Dude, in college, we had this cutout of John Wayne that we would stick in different rooms and stuff in the dark and just freak people
It'll
out.
get you, right?
Yeah.
We had a Wookiee. We had a Wookiee cut out.
I was
of
C-3PO.
styrofoam.
Yeah, same thing.
We also
I can tell
recently
y'all didn't go to A&M like I did for sure.
at my parents' house recently, there was this. We were staying in this little extra room, and the room across the hall had the doors open, and there's a recliner in there. They had a blanket strewn across this recliner, like it's almost like the size of a person sitting in this recliner. And every time I walk by, I'd be like, turn real quick, scared me. I feel like a person was sitting in that chair. It's like there ain't supposed to be anybody here.
Scary stuff, man.
That is, dude.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty excited that, get to go do this thing. And I think we're going to probably hang out a little bit more in May.
Hoping
I think
so,
what we're
man,
talking
yeah.
about. Yeah, do a little turkey hunting.
Yeah.
We got a big turkey hunt planned a couple different directions.
Are we going to eat turkey on that trip?
Yeah,
You think?
we can make that happen. Yeah, for sure. So I have a turkey breakfast sausage recipe that's really, really good. So I use the leg meat. A lot of people will just breast out birds, and I think that's a sin. So,
Dude, I love
Turkey,
leg
dude.
Me
meat.
too. I know. It sounds like such a just meat eater thing to say. You know what I mean? To be honest, but like they really are good, man.
Yeah, well, like the stock, I made the plinto with last night. A lot of that, I made that with turkey carcasses, like the bone stuff. And dude, it's again, I'm not like super granola-y and everything. Like
What about plenty? Are you that?
pretty plenty.
Okay.
I'm pretty down for that. Man. I wear Keens drive a Subaru.
Yeah, dude,
it's
I know.
too much. But dude, I think you're missing. Hunter checked just to make sure I was wearing Keens. Yeah. Well, when me and Hunter got,
I saw him yesterday when you had him propped up.
That's
Wind was
right.
blowing through him 60 miles an hour.
It was nice. When I got real sunburned.
When you got real sunburn.
Gosh, man.
And then today he got real on top of real.
Yeah, well, I got my base burned yesterday. I did like that your grandfather offered me some 20-year-old sunscreen that was in the boat.
At best.
About 20 minutes before we were done.
Yeah.
We're like putting the rods up, let's head back to the marina. You need some sunscreen, man? Like I got some right here. I'm good.
If I get in an old any fishing boat that does not have at least 10-year-old sunscreen,
It ain't good fishing
some
boat.
old sunglasses, a worn out hat, and some stuff like that, it's not a good
It's
fishing
not a good
boat.
boat. He hasn't spent much time on the water.
I'm telling Dylan, you said that.
No. His is an exception.
be
He's got
old.
paper plates on it,
Man.
Yeah. By the way, we should probably talk about Redline Guide Service real
For
quick.
sure, man.
Yeah.
Our buddy Dylan is definitely got a cool boat. At least you should go ride around with it.
Oh,
So-
he can go real fast.
Dude, I'm talking-
He's a cool dude. He's got great gear. Yeah, for sure. Did you see that?
Do that. You put that through the microphone, please.
Yeah, my face is blowing backwards.
I don't think we ever went real fast whenever we were in the boat. I don't know. I mean,
We got up to 60 miles an hour
Yeah.
on the way back.
Yeah, we
I
were
bet
going
you that
16.
boat will top
Which-
over 70 though, won't it?
We got real close. That morning before y'all got there, late risers.
There was
but
4 of us in there.
when it was just me and Dylan.
People
We
don't
were
realize
getting
how
on
fast
it.
60 is, though.
Oh,
It's like,
Yeah, when
booking
you're
it.
it's getting
20
it.
inches above the water at that point.
Yeah.
Everybody's going 60 in a encapsulated vehicle. Whenever you're out there in a piece of fiberglass and you've got literally I don't know 80 square inches of metal touching the water, and that's about all it's touching.
Yeah.
It's pretty sketch.
Well, it's like, you ever driven a motorcycle, 56 miles or 70 miles an hour, like a Ski-Doo, like you understand, like that's a different animal than being in a car doing
I ain't
that.
about that life on the jet ski thing. I don't like jet skis. I ain't into that, dude. It's too fast. They're too unstable. No thanks.
Man.
But I mean, hey, that boat rode good.
Oh, it was
Dylan
really good,
driver,
yeah.
safe.
Yeah, for
until
sure.
you turned the spoilers the wrong way on the way back.
Yeah, I did do that wrong. I did do that wrong.
That was the deckhand's fault. That wasn't
Deckhand was
necessarily
bad,
Dylan's, man.
but other than that, he put us on some good fish all day long.
And I will say this, so he was professional. He had really, really good gear. He knew how to use his gear, and he cleaned fish super quick, man.
Yeah.
He took really good care of us. We were, Hunter was his friend, so, I mean, he was a little bit nice to him, but
Was
his friend.
was his friend.
But, no, I would definitely suggest that dude, man. He was a cool dude to hang
It
out
was
with.
cool stuff. And little did I know that he is the brother of a guy I go to church with. So didn't even know that. Figured it
Ringing
out.
endorsement
You
right
didn't
there,
know that?
man.
No, I didn't figure it out. I mean, I'm just not. We talked about this. I'm not a Rains native.
Yeah.
So y'all have this telekinesis that I don't really understand. Where you all know who knows each other. I don't know.
But
I
I tell you, Dylan's a third generation fishing guy. And his grandfather before him, his father, dude, still outfish every one of us. It's just
Without a live scope.
tiny town stuff without a live scope, without even a graph, and that dude don't
Not
bump
even a hook.
Not
Not even a hook, man.
He doesn't run a graph, and I've never seen him bump a stump.
There you
I'm
go.
serious. He gets on fork without his graph.
old bump
He
stuff.
ain't stump bumping. He ain't stump bumper.
Don't miss the zag when you
Man.
need to zig.
It's like old Jim
You know
Mack
where I'm
Taylor.
talking about. Yeah.
So Jim Mack, he does a lot of catfish stuff, and they use Danny King's, right?
Oh, baby, Danny
and,
King's.
I guess that's what they use. They've used it, I guess, at some point, but they have the same type of bait, and they've got a stick that they use that was used by our friend Andrew's granddad.
Yeah.
So they have kept the stick. It's a
Oh,
wooden
wow.
stick like that.
It's a punch.
It ain't like a
It's well
manufactured
seasoned.
stick. It's like out of the woods, and they've been using the same stick for decades. I
That's
don't know how
crazy,
long.
man.
But they get that nylon punch bait or whatever out of there and put it on a hook.
Legacy, man.
Legacy.
You know what? We have a legacy of falling in the boat.
So if you're new to us and maybe new to our YouTube channel too, or even an old-timed viewer, go check out our YouTube channel because we have got a lot of stuff coming out for the spring. We're going to be doing a lot of turkey hunting, like we talked about with Daniel here. And then also, one of the big things in the public land game especially is saddle hunting these days. And in particular, we're going to have a lot of saddle content out there. And I don't mean the old horse type saddle. I'm talking about hanging from a tree diaper type saddle. All right. We're going to be doing all kinds of evaluations of different types of saddles and maybe talking about some tactics and even how to shoot deer from one. Right. We actually did a little bit of that this season. I think, what was it? Like 6 or 7 deer died from saddles last year at the hands of the Element Crew. So be sure and go subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out what we've got going on over there.
Legacy, man.
Legacy.
You know what? We have a legacy of falling in the boat.
For the Smiths?
Yeah.
Really?
I fell in the boat today.
At least you didn't fall out of the boat.
I got close.
I almost caught you, man. I was like
that.
looking at something else, and then you like came in my field of view. I was like, "Oh, hey, buddy."
Our friend Cody Beaver can get a phone out of his pocket quicker than anybody I've ever seen.
Go get the water. Toss it.
Every time we hit a stump, that dude's got the phone out. He's like,
You know why? Because he's got 3,800 landowner contacts in that phone. Just sweet old ladies that he met and who knows where that he's always trying to just sweet
gotta
up to.
send a Christmas text to or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for
why.
sure, man.
That's cool. Well, dude, thanks for coming down this weekend.
Dude, thanks for having me, man.
yeah.
Seriously, it was a really, really good time.
Supper was bad at the bone.
Yeah, it
Thank
was.
you, man. Thank you,
And
guys.
sharing the boat was fun too, man. I'm glad that I could have you there to kind of run middleman between me and my granddad. You know,
Dude,
what
it was
I mean?
a great time. It was a good time. So I did like at the very end. So a lot of guys don't know I don't drive boats very often.
Yeah.
And he just so I was outside the boat standing on the dock, kind of holding it there, and he just got out and started walking away. And he's like, "You can put it on the trailer, right?" I was like, "I guess I'll find out how to do that."
Dude, you did a top-notch job.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
told my
so
dad, I was like, I don't know if he ever does this, but he's doing good. Yeah.
I had to back way up to get like
Get straight.
You gotta get
and
straight,
Just
yeah,
slow
for sure.
and steady. It helps. You did it on a good night where there wasn't a lot of wind.
yeah, for
You
sure,
know.
for sure. And there wasn't like a stack behind me that people. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things I learned to do too.
It's like first levels of anxiety I ever had was, hey, because that's not just a new like 80-year-old pop thing. It's been that way since I was a little kid, like to throw you into the fire, you know. And 154 boat ramp, which is arguably the busiest boat ramp in the lake. He'd be like, "Back me in, boy." Oh gosh, you know, I'm 10 years old. I'm backing in a truck. It's a 2-lane boat ramp that I'm turning into a 1. You know, everyone's mad. Yeah, it's fun.
It was well. I like to. We were talking about earlier. There's like a dock, really nice dock.
Yeah.
And so like we launched the boat, and you go park the truck. I walk out on the dock to get on the boat because I thought that's what you do.
Yeah.
Like you launch a boat, and Pop pulls up to a rock, right next to the boat ramp, and he like looks at me like, "What are you doing over there?" And so I walk over there, and I kind of like climb. He's like, "Can you climb on?" I was like, "Yeah." So I kind of climb over, and you do the same thing. You're like over on the dock, and you walk over there, and he has to reposition the boat around the dock to get you on the rock. And you're like, "Man, too bad they put that dang dock there. You'd be able to turn around easier."
Yeah,
He's like, yeah.
The dock's in the way, and Pop just kind of nods his head like, "Yeah."
He's like, "I've used this rock tons of times, man." It was a good rock.
It was.
Man.
It was. It was. A
There's
good
been
one.
some good pop stories on the podcast.
It's a good time.
We had
man.
KC's dad Butch, which is literally we've had more requests for him, I think, than any other guest we've ever had. After we had him on, though, we had a lot of pop stories, man, and it seems like he ain't scared of much.
No, he's not. He's not. Man, I love him to death. He is getting older, you know, so you kind of got to watch out for him a little bit. And it's pretty cold this morning. It's probably 48, 50 when we hit the water, you know. The dude's got on a button-up shirt and an undershirt. But the button, it ain't even a flannel. I mean, it's
thin.
thin.
That old 70s.
He's like, "I got a jacket." No, you don't.
We sit on the boat, and you're like, "Man, where's your jacket?" "I got a jacket on." He's like, "No, you just have that on." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Maybe you should wear a flannel." Yeah. Yep.
And by the time we got back to the truck tonight, he was like, "How do you turn the heat on in the truck?"
He ain't going 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's hot. But yeah, I don't know. It's at that weird stage of like, I also don't want to give up my jacket to him, but probably the next time I'll have to give him my jacket. This time we'll see if he learns a lesson. If not, if next time
Wow,
I'll
he's
give him.
82 years old, Casey.
So
You're like,
you're
how long you going
admitting,
away,
you're
bud?
admitting to trying to teach him a lesson.
Oh, man.
Trying.
I like him because he, about halfway
I
through
like
the day, he goes,
Don't get me wrong.
he goes, "When are you off work next?" I said, what are you getting at? He goes, when can you come back down and fish with us? And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I like you, man.
Yeah.
So,
That was good. Good
Yeah,
people.
he's
he
always
was good
willing to
people.
invite, man, for sure. Especially if you get up and do stuff for him. He's getting to that point now where like he just he sat in that chair all day. He didn't really do much, but I'm glad he's out there. you
yeah,
know?
man. He enjoyed himself, I think. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we were out there from, 9 to 7?
Oh, he missed a nap. He went home, went to bed. I guarantee you that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
What would Pop have done if you handed him a Sika jacket? And would he have been real surprised at how warm it is?
And light.
He wouldn't even thought. He didn't know how
Light.
sick he is. I bet you.
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
would he have mentioned, like, oh, that's a nice jacket?
Oh my goodness, we haven't told the best story. So we always have this thing about Pop hates artificial, hates it. Think it's stupid. All right, and he hadn't caught a fish all day. He's been dabbing around this brush pile on this beaver lodge with his crappie minnow and his salty for probably 30 minutes. So I finally get up there with a jig because, I mean, y'all know beaver lodges are where it's at. Right. I toss this thing right at the mouth of that beaver lodge. I feel it, dun, 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 and then I hit it just a couple times, dun, 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 and boom, I felt it. So set the hook, jerk the fish up. It's a solid 2-pounder, maybe even an under, like a solid tournament fish, you know. And I pull it up and say, how about that artificial? And Pop just not even looking, says, skinny.
He's like, I don't even think you asked him about it. You pull it out. I mean, it's still on the line. He goes, it looks a little skinny.
That's it. That's boated the fish all day
Well, and I think
long.
the best part about it too was we were like kind of on. There's like a log here. Casey's trying to position the boat so he can throw on the other side of this log. Pop's trying to get us into this little cove so he can stick his cane pole closer to the bank. So and like you're going, hey, I'm in this tree thing, and he's like does not care. He's like unhooked so I can get closer and throw his crappie jig in there. And I see he pulls that bass out and he's like, skinny. So good.
Skinny.
Oh man, well yeah, Pop stories can go on and
I'm
on,
going
but
to have to use that one.
it has become part of the nomenclature. We said skinny quite a few times today.
It's a little skinny.
Oh man, yeah, but I think it's getting late enough to where we can shut this thing down and get some sleep. We got church in the morning, but
Yeah, for sure.
Daniel, I'm glad we got to hang out, man.
It was my pleasure, man.
For people who are hearing you on our podcast the first time this time, where can they figure out where you're at?
Yeah, so Hunt Fish Eat Podcast is the name of the podcast. On Instagram, Hunt Fish Eat Podcast. If you go to Apple, iTunes, Spotify, any of that's Hunt Fish Eat Podcast. Facebook, same thing, Hunt Fish Eat Podcast. So hunt-fish-eat.com is our website. But yeah, I just got started about a year ago, and I like to hunt, fish, and eat. So
Man, it's very
Real complicated.
very basic. I like it.
Yeah.
You're based, as the kids say these days. So
very on brand.
yeah, absolutely.
Better than being basted.
Like turkeys, though.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you have a signature sign off that you normally do?
Catch you on the flip flop. That's what I usually
You
say.
say it a lot.
At the end of the podcast, kind of like that. So.
Okay. All right. So
You wear flip-flops?
No,
No?
I do.
I'm not that kind of guy.
Me neither. I'm
Or
closed-toed, man.
sandals.
Catch you on the sandals.
Catch you on the Keens, man.
Catch you on the Keens.
I've heard people call them Jerusalem cruisers because Jesus probably wore sandals. So
Oh, I thought it's because like the yuppie Christians that go visit Jerusalem usually wear keys when they go.
that could be it too. I don't know if it's pejorative, but yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard people call them mandals. Man sandals.
It's very much like a SBC youth minister shoe. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
100%, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hunter, thanks for joining us on this thing, man.
And thanks for saving my life so I could be here on this podcast, man.
Yeah. Perfect. Well,
Took you to the promised land
Yeah.
with oatmeal pies.
Those things were frozen solid, dude. Wait till
Stuck
you
them in my
up.
shirt. For
Yep.
5 minutes.
well, I'm about to eat one of these frozen sausages. So, guys, remember, this is your element.
Live in it.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.